Well, I'm so excited for today's guest to welcome Trina to Core Connections. So, as always, Trina, since this is the first time you've been on the podcast, I want everyone listening to get to know more about you and your journey to finding natural dental health. And I love this conversation. And like I was telling you before we even got started, I have been looking forward to this for, a long time. Like it's been years, Trina. So,
Well, I'm so happy, Erica, that we get to mouth off today. I always like using that because it's kind of, I'm a tongue in cheek, have so much fun. I try to have so much fun, and it's just fun to be able to mouth off. And dental health it's something people don't think about. And I once had somebody tell me, it was actually JJ Virgin told me, you have to try and make dental health sexy. Otherwise, no one's going to listen. And I'm like, really? Oh my gosh, that's a lot of pressure. So yeah, dental health is one of my passions. And it started because my daughter at the age of 2 had a molar that came in that had a natural cavity in it, a natural defect. We were brushing her teeth one night. My husband said, "Oh my gosh, can you come and look at this? There's something not right with this tooth that's coming in." So I looked at it and, I'm a registered nurse, and, as a nurse, we do mouth care, but I didn't know much about dental health other than, the cliche that all good health starts inside your mouth, but I never knew what that really meant. So I took one look at that tooth and I'm like, we better call the dentist and just take her in. So we did. And he said, that's a natural cavity. It happened in utero. Didn't even know that was a thing. But during development, when that tooth was being developed, I probably had some sort of stressor happen, whether it was a physical stressor like a bacteria or a virus or actual stress or something. Something probably happened and it just created this defect in this tooth. So he says, we'll just put a temporary filling in it. She's 2. I don't want to put a permanent, don't want to put her through that. We'll just put a temporary filling in it. And the filling's probably going to fall out every 2 years or 2 months. Sorry, not 2 years, 2 months. Every 2 to 3 months for a temporary, he said. And every time it falls out, we'll decide if we just put another temporary filling in it or if now's the time that we pull the tooth. He said, I fully expect to need to pull this tooth within a year. So as we were leaving, he says, because he knew I was upset. I'm a nurse. I sort of had heard about the dental meridians. Every tooth is connected to an organ. And once you sever that, you can't ever get that back. And there's that communication pathway of your body. It's how your body communicates with each other. And when an organ is being developed, it's at the exact same time, a certain organ with a tooth. That's why you get that connection. And so when I was leaving, he says, don't worry, Mom. We put a temporary filling in. Now we just hope for the best. And I thought, oh my God, I am not going to hope for the best. Like I'm so glad he said that because I don't know if I would have done anything. Like, if he hadn't put that little idea in my head, like I'm not hoping for the best. There's got to be something I can do. I might have just walked out of there and none of this, that I created would be here. But he did. And I got that little, okay, this mama is not going to hope for the best. So I went home and I started researching dental health and I was sort of blown away. And I thought he's absolutely right. If I don't do anything, if I don't change anything, we're going to pull that tooth within a year because we're creating an environment where cavities and gum disease, the bacteria that causes all that crap will grow and that tooth will need to be pulled. That filling will fall out. So I decided that I was going to try something. I found Dr. Weston A. Price and I started creating, he was a dentist in the early 1900s for anyone that doesn't know who he is, way before his time, super smart. He found the connection, the link between cavities and sugar in the diet and actually was a member of the ADA and asked the ADA, presented his findings and said, I think we need to cut out sugar or limit sugar in the diet. And, I think they were sitting at a table and next to him was the guy who was like, oh no, we need sugar in the diet because we need cavities because we need to fill, drill, and bill. And the ADA pretty much hid all of his research and shut him up and went with the guy who said, let's put sugar in toothpaste. And that's exactly what they did. So that we could get people to come in twice a year instead of once a year for fillings. And I found his research, and everything that he did spoke to me. And I thought, I'm going to use what he basically describes as dental care and see if I can't make that. And so I did. It's called Dirty Mouth Tooth Powder. I made it for my daughter and then started selling it when, I noticed that it was actually creating wellness inside the mouth. And that tooth that was supposed to be pulled and my goal, by the way, was 1 year and 1 day. If I could get that tooth 1 year and 1 day, I did a good job as a mom. And that tooth fell out naturally at the age of 12. And that original filling, that original filling that was supposed to last 2 months was still in place 10 years later. And the tooth had actually mineralized over that filling to protect it so that there would be no bacteria infection or anything that could get inside the actual tooth. So I did my job. And that's how my dental program was founded.
That's amazing. Well, I have a testimonial for your Dirty Mouth toothpaste. I love it. I have been using it for a couple of years, and I dealt with mold in 2018, and it seemed like almost overnight when I had gone back to my dentist. She was like, "Erica, what happened to your teeth?" And like in like my back teeth, like my molars and stuff, like in between them, she was like, "You're getting dark spaces." She's like, what happened?" She's like, "You eat well." I was like, "Well, mold, right? Mold toxicity will leach from your teeth." And that was, I think, about the same time I had been after that, right? And then I was like, "Oh gosh, I got to do something." I discovered you and have been using your powder toothpaste ever since. And
Wow.
and I'll tell you, like, I had a little like divot starting on the front, one of my front teeth, and that's like 95% gone. It's, remineralized, and everything
Wow.
else in my mouth, like nothing has gotten worse. So we've at least stalled it. And I am still and going about that, visual vision and using your toothpaste that like everything is remineralizing and I'm not going to have any issues with any of those
I'm
teeth.
curious about the mold. I'm going to interview you for a second.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
flipping the switch. I'm curious about the mold. I've not heard that before, but it makes total sense. So did it help with the mold and pulling out those toxins? Because the clay base, it's a clay base.
Yeah. So, well, because I was very unwell. And so I was doing a lot of really deep, detoxing. So for me, I was the whole pulling minerals out of my teeth, like it shocked the heck out of me. But I also realized, well, when you have that level of toxicity in the body, your body isn't absorbing nutrients. It's just like utter chaos in the body, and your body is trying to survive, so it is going to pull minerals from everywhere.
It's like being pregnant.
That's what was happening.
That's what it's like.
I didn't have that issue with. I have three kids.
Yeah, but that's what I call it. It's like a parasite. Like babies are parasites. But so is illness. It's a parasite, and it's going to pull. And so your saliva, this is what happens. This is when I geeked out on this too, because I got the question from, I was doing a podcast for, it's a pregnancy in a mom's group. And they asked me, one of the questions was, during pregnancy, after pregnancy, why do women get cavities? Like there's a saying, and I'd never heard this, one cavity for every baby born. And I said, that's interesting. I'd never heard that. But here, I think I know why. One of the reasons is because the only way that your body can remineralize your teeth is not through what you're actually eating. It has to happen inside your mouth. But when you're talking about it's like taking a supplement, your body has the only mechanism besides the direct food, if there's minerals in your food, but through your saliva. And what happens when you're sick or what happens when you're pregnant is that those minerals become depleted. Baby is taking all those minerals to make their bones, and their own teeth and all that. But during sickness, like you said, if you have any digestive issues that cause a malabsorption syndrome happening, you can take all the supplements, eat all the good, healthy food in the world you want. And like, because I went through this too myself on my health journey. You're not absorbing those nutrients, and then your saliva starts to get depleted. And as your saliva gets depleted, because you're basically shunting all your nutrients to the vital organs, that your teeth and your gums start to suffer. But that is the key to health as well. So that's why that is such a key component to health. And the remineralization happens as your saliva, which is supposed to have minerals, like a high content of minerals. When that gets depleted, you don't have the minerals. And then you also don't have the ability to neutralize the acids inside the mouth, which then causes more problems.
Yeah, I think it's so fascinating, the whole conversation of how our teeth and the health of our mouth can positively and negatively like affect our entire body and our entire health. And I'm glad you mentioned about moms. I have a lot of moms in my audience, and it is right when you're pregnant, they're taking a lot from moms. We talk a lot about depletion and things as well. And so this conversation is be really good for all of my moms listening.
The other thing, go ahead.
No, Trina, you go.
And so the other thing that's really cool that most people don't realize about their mouth is that your saliva and the microbiome inside your mouth is the key components that are necessary to create nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is the vasodilator. It's the one that creates that increase in blood flow so that you can have more nutrients, you can have more oxygen. So think about heart attack victims or people that have heart disease. This is one of the reasons that heart disease is linked to oral health. If you can't create nitric oxide, your blood vessels in your heart, your arteries start to get smaller, more narrow. Not only that, of course, there's the plaque issue, but as they get more narrow, there's less blood flow, less oxygen, less nutrients to the myocardium. Nitric oxide, the key components is saliva, a healthy bacteria inside the mouth, and a healthy bacteria in the gut. If you don't have all three of those, your nitric oxide production greatly diminishes. That not only affects your heart health, it affects your brain health, it affects your immune system. For men and women, it affects fertility itself. So it's a huge component, which is one of the reasons that it's so important to make sure that your microbiome is healthy inside your mouth.
Okay, so Trina, what are some of your best recommendations for improving the microbiome of your mouth then?
You know what I love to tell people, first of all, is, if you're someone out there you're using products that are off the shelf, and by that I mean the typical standard dental products that you've been using for years, whether they're really not natural, like they're more the chemical based, and you know what I'm talking about, the brands that start with C, and things like that, and then the bottles of mouthwash that are green and blue. You need to stop. Like, I'm just going to be blunt and say that you need to stop. You need to make some changes. Of all things out there, those things are destroying your health. I think they're actually put on the market. There is a connection between big pharma, big dental, big food. There is a connection, and they don't want you to be healthy. They're working together. And big dental out there is creating products that are creating cavities and gum disease. I mean, I talked a little bit about Dr. Weston A. Price and why he got shut up, because big dental said, no, we have to have cavities. How are we going to survive if we don't have cavities? We need to see people twice a year instead of once a year so we can, increase our whatever. And the solution to a cavity isn't, let's figure out how to fix this. It's bill, drill, and bill. So it's important to understand that if those are the things that you're using, it's okay. But you do need to make some changes. Otherwise, you're just going to go down that path that leads to multiple health issues that is going to be a lot harder to reverse or change. And the best time to stop a health condition is before it starts, to prevent it from happening. So I think the best thing that you can do is to start look for other alternatives. The really good news, though, is that dental, like your mouth, is an environment that changes very quickly. Like, I've had people that have had dental health issues, bad breath and sensitive teeth for years, like years. I'm talking years. 3 days into my program, and they're like, oh my gosh, my teeth are not sensitive and my mouth feels good. So I usually say it's about a 3 to 7 day window but you have to ditch everything else you're using. Like if you're going to throw mouthwash in with my products, you're going to destroy what my products are trying to do, because my products are going to help rebuild and reestablish that microbiome that is going to support nitric oxide production. It's going to support your immune system. It's going to support every aspect of health. So that's the key thing, is like if you're using those types. The other problem is, and as I dived more into the research of dental health, the natural products, the products that look healthy, are still not formulated correctly. So it's hard for me to say, don't use this, don't use this, don't use this. It's easier for me to say, look for these things, because these key 3 things are what you want in your dental products, and they will do the 3 things that you need. I can tell you one of those 3 things is not cleaning your mouth. It's not, because your mouth will auto cleanse. That's what your saliva is for. That's what the good microbiome is for. Your mouth will actually self cleanse itself, just like your gut. Your gut, I think every couple hours goes through this cleansing cycle. And if you eat,
So Trina,
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just want to interject just to clarify, because I think of what you're saying is hey, if we take an antibiotic, it just gets rid of all the bacteria. So that's essentially what we're doing with our mouth if we're using a lot of those your big brand mouthwashes and things that. You're just literally wiping out the bacteria. We need good bacteria in actually it's a balance. There can be some bad stuff there too. It's a balance in our gut. It's a balance in our mouth, and the microbiome in our mouth can then obviously trickle down into our guts. So it could be negatively or impacting also our gut microbiome, correct?
100%. Oh my gosh. In fact, a lot of people can't fix their gut microbiome until they fix their mouth microbiome, because there's cool pathology about that too. But this is a disgusting thing when I say it, nobody ever thinks about this, but every single thing inside your mouth you swallow. Unless you spit it out, you swallow. So all the air, the polluted air that you're breathing, anything that, you pick up your cup and drink it, it's been sitting open, on the counter, and someone, 100 people have walked by that cup. How many have sneezed? How many, whatever, you pick it up and you drink it. So every single thing, heavy metals, there's a lot of heavy metals, that the main way I think people get poisoned or toxic levels of heavy metals is through their gum tissue, through their oral airway. And, it's imperative to make sure that that tissue is intact, and by that I mean your gum tissue and your tongue and all of that, all the palate, soft palate, hard palate, all that tissue's intact and healthy, so that the bacteria can't really survive. You want to make an environment that unhealthy bacteria cannot survive, because really your first line of defense against that bacteria is your saliva. Your saliva is supposed to kill viruses and fungus and bacteria. And the problem with why it's not working is because we create an acidic environment inside our mouth, not an alkaline environment. In an acidic environment, and that happens from the food that we eat, almost all of the food that we eat is acidic by nature, with the exception of probably vegetables. Everything else is probably acidic. Red meat is acidic. Processed foods are acidic. Things are, most of the things that were in coffee and, tea, all of that stuff is acidic. When you're eating the acidic foods, that's when you lose minerals in your teeth. The minerals literally leave your teeth when you eat acids, chewing gum, sugar, all of that. Bacteria, the wrong bacteria inside your mouth creates its own acid. It's like cancer. Cancer cells create an acidic environment to grow more cancer cells. Same thing inside your mouth creates that acid. That coating on your tongue that you should scrape off, that is the bacteria creating more acid. So that bad breath taste, we've all been brainwashed into believing bad breath is okay and it's normal. And bad breath is not normal. You should not have bad breath if you have a healthy bacteria. In fact, bad breath is a sign, like you mentioned, that there's an imbalance in the bacteria inside your mouth and the bad guys are winning. So the best thing that you can do is recreate and reestablish that balance inside your mouth so that you have that fresh tasting mouth.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So Trina, I have so many things I want you to talk about, but let's dive into the conversation about fluoride because it's in everything. You really have to go out of your way to avoid it, especially if you're just buying your run-of-the-mill brand name products, and even some of the more natural ones that you can get at your, natural kind of grocer type stores. You still have to look and buy the ones that say non-fluoride, toothpaste and things like that. And I'm sure there's people listening that are like, yeah, I go to the dentist and they have me do fluoride rinses, and I'm told by this person and that person fluoride is good for my teeth. Let's talk about that. We have to talk about that because fluoride is so toxic to our body. It damages your thyroid, among who knows what else. So I will
Yeah.
let you, as the dental expert, take it away.
And your pineal gland and your nervous system, it's all damaged by fluoride. Here's the key. I'm a true believer that your body really wants to function normally, and we were given a gift of health, when we were conceived. That looks different for everybody. And obviously some people have problems that they, have to manage. But overall, as a human being, I can honestly say, and this is truth, you should not have fluoride in your body when you're born. The only reason you are born with fluoride in your body, because babies test positive for fluoride, the only way that you test positive is if your mom has fluoride in her body and she passes it to you. Technically, as a human, you are not supposed to have fluoride in your body. Fluoride, to get to a little bit deeper of a level, people hear that, it can cause problems with your thyroid and, okay, whatever. But fluoride actually tries to replace calcium. And that's why you can end up with problems with your bones when you have an excess of fluoride, because calcium, it sort of just like the affinity, it kicks out the calcium and it replaces that calcium with that fluoride. And then, over time, you end up with these toxic levels, and it's hard to detox that stuff out unless you make some certain changes. In your teeth, the same thing happens. So my point is, you don't need you were born perfect. You should have been born perfect. And part of that plan was to not have fluoride in your body. It's not meant to be there. So there's actually, and the key thing is this fluoride doesn't work anyway. It really doesn't, because seriously, if it worked, we should have 0 cavities. And still, the literature out there, the research out there says that by the age of, I think it's 30, 90% of adults have at least 1 cavity. So, and we know that most people have more than 1 cavity, including children today. Like the rate of cavities hasn't declined, even though we've put fluoride in almost everything. So that's the proof in the pudding. Really, the research that was done way back when, the initial research that came out that said fluoride, yes, fluoride's the thing, it's the winner, it's the hot. They actually continued to do that research. And what nobody knows, because they buried it, is that the longer they did the research, the more apparent it became that fluoride wasn't the answer. That fluoride was actually there was no benefit to it. In fact, there's health hazards. But they buried that research. They didn't want you to find it. They didn't want you to know about that. So there's a better answer. And especially in this day and age where people are more, they're consumed with finding things that work with the body, not against the body. And hydroxyapatite is a newer, it's been around forever, but newer in the dental world. And it's like the whiz, it's everything they wanted fluoride to be. And it's literally exactly what's in your teeth. It's calcium and phos. It's called hydroxyapatite. And literally in your teeth, it's actually called hydroxyapatite as well. Now there's plenty of ways to get it. There's artificial, there's natural. We use a natural form in our dental products. But the main key is that you want it to be a nano form. It has to be nano, which means it's super, super microscopic, so that it can get back into the pits where you've lost the calcium and phos. So hydroxyapatite and there's no side effects because you need calcium and phos in your body to function. You were born with that. You got bones, you were born with calcium. So that's the win. And that's my take on fluoride. I try not to dive too much into it because it's the controversy, and I like to just give the honest opinion. And of course, this is all my opinion. You don't need it. My kids, I have, my daughter's now 14. My boys are 12. I have twin boys that are 12. And between them, they have zero cavities at this age. And my kids still eat like kids. Like, they're probably not as bad as some kids with sugar and stuff, but they still enjoy the cookies. They still enjoy things like that. We try to limit it, but we have zero cavities other than that natural cavity that my daughter had. Zero cavities since that tooth. So it works.
It does, Trina. It's the same in my household. 3 kids, and we don't do fluoride, and we don't drink. I know some people thinking, well, if you drink city water, we don't drink city water, so we don't get any of it. So anyway, just a little. I just want to educate people, and then if you want to do more, continue. Please always go do more research. But I just feel like it's one of the biggest myths that's been lingering out there that comes up so often, and I'm just like, oh, but it's so toxic for our body, and we're already
and
so
for
toxic
kids
burden,
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's bad for the kids. It's just not good for children. They're exposed, like, kids today are exposed to so much more than, even when I was little. I'll be 55 this year. And I mean, I just think about even with the internet and, the 5G and just that impact on the body. And how does that impact all the other toxins we were already exposed to? So, and it's the kids that are growing up in their poor little brains, how they're using Bluetooth and all of that other stuff. So I just worry more about the kids. Of course, I worry about the adults and the women that are childbearing age. But, I just want the kids to be safe. I want their brains to be healthy, because they're the ones that are going to be, when we're old, they're the ones that are going to be running this country and making all these decisions on what goes in our food and what are you allowed to eat and what's good and what's bad.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I so agree with you. I always get very passionate. I feel like kids come up in a lot of conversations, because how can they not when we're talking about health and wellness? So yeah, I appreciate that insight. So I know you mentioned about the hydroxyapatite, and I know you said, it needs to be in the nano form. Is there anything else that you can share with everybody about that? I know that's what you have in your dirty powder toothpaste. Maybe you already said it, but I wanted to make sure if there's anything else, or if that's kind of like the magic that is within your tooth powder that I've been using now for years.
Here's the thing. There's 3 key things that you want in your dental products. And hydroxyapatite is a piece of that. So calcium phosphate is hydroxyapatite. Those are the minerals found in your teeth. However, those aren't the only minerals. You also have, at a lower concentration, you still have manganese and magnesium and silica and other types of minerals. And it's a lock and key. So when you're eating, or drinking your coffee and you lose a manganese mineral out of your tooth, you can't replace it with a calcium. It's a lock and key. It has to, the right mineral has to be present at that spot that lost the mineral. It has to be alkaline at the moment. If it's not alkaline, that mineral will just be, you'll either swallow it or spit it, depending on what you're doing. So the key is there's three things. It has to be alkaline. Whatever you're brushing with and really rinsing your mouth with, which would be like a mouth rinse or a mouthwash, has to be alkaline. And as a basic consumer, you're like, okay, yeah, but how do I know it's alkaline? We don't put the pH. Nobody puts the pH on their products. And I tell people that probably the best ingredient, especially when you're natural focused, to look for is baking soda. Baking soda will be a signal that it's probably alkaline. Baking soda alone doesn't work. I tell people as a 1 or 2 day, if you're in a pinch, you run out of your good toothpaste or tooth powder, you can use baking soda because it is alkaline. So it's not going to destroy your good bacteria. But the second key component is it has to have minerals in it. Because if it's alkaline, it's going to support your good bacteria. And it's going to be the environment. It's going to create that environment where the minerals can go back in your teeth. But if there's no minerals in what you're brushing with, then it does, like, you're going to support the bacteria, but your teeth are still going to get weak. All day long, you're losing minerals and you're not putting them back in. Like maybe your saliva is a little bit, but it's probably not enough. And maybe there's some in your diet, but the soil is so mineral depleted, this, even if it's organic, mineral depleted. So you're not able to absorb as many. So you want to make sure your dental products have minerals. Those minerals are, the nano hydroxyapatite is a good, but I use a blend of 3 clays because in addition to nano hydroxyapatite, I use 3 clays because clay, first of all, it's alkaline. Secondly, it has a combination of like a plethora of minerals. So you're not going to be like missing a between those 3. So I use a blend of bentonite, white kaolin, and French green clay. And French green is one of my favorite because it's from the French Sea. So it has the nutrients, the phytonutrients from plants and algae and even like dead fish, dead everything. So you're getting all of those really good nutrients. And it's also it's an anti-inflammatory and it's an analgesic, which means I'm a nurse anesthetist. I do anesthesia. As a nurse and a nurse anesthetist, I know that if I can reduce pain and I can reduce inflammation, healing happens so much faster. Like seriously, you can double down and heal 5 times as fast than when you have an infection going on or some inflammatory process. So by putting French green clay in the tooth powder, not only are you getting minerals and you're getting the nutrients, but you're also going to get that anti-inflammatory and analgesic effect. And then the healing can happen faster. So that blend is it's my secret sauce. But on top of that, the third component, so it's got to have minerals, got to be alkaline. So look for clay. And look for, and the clay, by the way, should be food grade. We don't put that on our containers, but all of my clays are food grade. Most companies don't use food grade clays, but mine are food grade. And then the last component is it must detox your tissues of your mouth. If your mouth is dirty, like I talked about, there's heavy metals. Clay is a medium that people use it for detoxing all the time. We do clay masks. I actually ingest clay once a month for an internal detox. But clay is like, go back to science school, in school where it's the bonding. It's an ionic bond, which is one of the strongest bonds that you can have. And as soon as clay bonds to, say, fluoride or any kind of heavy metal in your gum tissue or where your teeth, anything, your tongue, it holds on to it and it pulls it out of the tissue and then you spit it out. Even if you swallowed it. So if you're 3 years old, you have a 3-year-old and your 3-year-old constantly swallows all their toothpaste, which they do, you can be assured that, especially with my product, safe to, I can't really say it's safe to swallow. It's not really an ingestible, but all of the ingredients themselves are not going to harm you. In fact, doing a clay, if you ingest that clay and your child ingests that ionic bond is so strong that they will go all the way through their digestive system and be released. They're still releasing whatever toxin that clay molecule held onto. So that to me as a mom speaks volumes. I mean, I know every mom in the world, there's not one mom in the world. It's like, I hope my kids get, cavities and gum disease.
Said no one ever.
I said no one ever. Like, when's the last time you heard a mom on the soccer field go, oh my God, we had our checkup and I'm so proud of them. She had 3 more cavities. So I don't want that for my kids. I don't want them to go through that pain and, it's just not fun. And then the health aspect of that, that you end up with more problems, more inflammation. So that's where I land, those 3 things. And so baking soda, look for clay, nano hydroxyapatite, and then the clay is going to do the double duty of pulling those toxins out of the tissues and help that. And then that speeds healing as well.
Yeah, getting inflammation down is like a root thing we just have to do for our body to be healthy. So important.
Yeah.
So Trina, I wanted to ask you, about, how can people know if they're brushing correctly? And also kind of that concern of, am I brushing too aggressively? I know you mentioned like the baking powder, and using, if someone were to just say, oh, well, if that's good for me, I know you explained why we should not just use it, but we need to use the minerals with it. But I've heard of people using just baking powder, right? And do you want to explain why we shouldn't do that, and kind of the brushing and concern of wearing, enamel off of our teeth and things like that?
So baking soda and the other one is charcoal. People brush with straight charcoal. The interesting thing is people think that they're really abrasive, and those are two of the least abrasive ingredients. So they're not actually going to destroy your enamel, but they are not going to help put minerals back in, both of those ingredients. That's why when we make we have two black formulas, which incorporates charcoal into our formula of tooth powder, and our toothpaste doesn't have charcoal, but tooth powder has charcoal in it. But it's incorporated with the clays, and it's incorporated with the nanohydroxyapatite and the baking soda, so that you get that extra detox, that little bit extra whitening effect, without suffering, from the lack of minerals in the charcoal itself. And that's the same thing with baking soda. Neither one of them are abrasive. In fact, we've done abrasivity scores on our tooth powder, and it's way less abrasive than most products on the market. As far as, that's concerned. What was the other thing you asked me?
About like, if people are like, how to know if you're brushing properly,
Brushing.
because I think some people like are too aggressive, brushing,
Yeah.
like trying to get every little thing out or whatever.
Yeah. So that is one of the main reasons for gum recession. You end up with gum recession because you're brushing too hard, or you're using a hard bristle brush. That's the biggest no-no. If you're using a hard bristle brush and you're brushing too hard, you're in a bad situation. You need to stop. Get a really soft brush. You want a soft brush. It's actually going to do more good. It's going to actually massage your gums, which will stimulate blood flow. And that blood flow, of course, is going to help detox the tissue of your gums, because more blood flow in, more leaves, more takes junk away. But it's also going to bring the nutrients and the oxygen too. But brushing, you want to brush up and down, not really in a circle. You want to go up and down, and you want to spend about 30 seconds. It's a 2-minute, 30 seconds on each quadrant. So upper, lower, or upper, however you want to do it, but about 30 seconds underneath, and get the behinds. I have a whole protocol. I have a dental detox kit, which I can give you links to these if anyone's interested. I created a whole dental detox kit, so that people could get everything that they need. It's a 60-day, grab one, I'll show you. It's a 60-day kit. It has everything in it that you need. I can't get the lid closed, but this is the idea. Everything you need in it for 60 days. Including a tongue scraper that's copper, so that copper will last a lifetime if you take care of it. And then the gum drops actually replaces the mouthwash. So everything you need. Don't use anything else when you do the 60-day kit. But I can get you some the link that your viewers and listeners can get a really good discount, and you can buy more than one at a discount if you have family members that you want one for. But brushing up and down is really the best way to go. You don't really want to go side to side. Side to side is actually a little bit more damaging for your gum tissue, and you want to just go up and down. And then in my protocol, I teach you, when to floss. I always get the question too of water picks. That's a big question. Can I use a water pick instead of flossing? I like water picks. I have one. I don't use it every day, but I do love water picks. But it does not replace flossing. So if you're going to use a water pick, you still need to floss, because it doesn't do the same thing as flossing. But flossing at least once a day. If I can get people to do it once a day, I'm happy. Twice a day is a bonus. You're just going to get better benefits. But flossing is super important because it actually stimulates it. Not only is it getting rid of the junk that's between your teeth, but it actually stimulates your gums. And I teach people to put the gum serum, my gum drops, a little drop on your finger, put your floss. And with my floss picks, everything's like eco-friendly. biodegradable, including the floss picks, 100% biodegradable. It's made with cornstarch, but you just put the floss between, put some of the gumdrops on your floss. And then when you floss, that gumdrop, which is olive oil with 11 essential oils, was going to help reduce inflammation and increase blood flow. And that's going to help get in those areas that you can't really get. When people go to the dentist is typically amazed after they've been using my products. They're actually pretty shocked and comment, what have you been doing? But I always warn my customers. I have an email after you purchase dental products that says, it's like a couple weeks and you might get an email that says, how your next checkup is going to go. And I walk you through the idea that you're going to have this amazing checkup. You're going to have no plaque. Your gums are going to be healthy, not bleeding or getting better. And then your dentist is going to come in and comment, my gosh, this is great. This is the best checkup you've had. You're feeling really good. What are you doing? And you tell them that you switch to this, natural tooth powder or toothpaste if you switch to the paste. And, it's made with clay and you're all excited and they're going to go, you can't use that. This is where the fluoride comment sometimes enters. Yep. You can't use that. That's not going to work. I mean, you just got, this is what I tell people. You have to then use your brain. You can't be like, oh, okay. You have to go, I just had the best check. You just told me my gums aren't bleeding. Use your brain. Because the truth of the matter is that dentists are not, that the average dentist, and I have nothing against dentists. Actually, I believe that they don't use the power that they have. Our dentists have so much power to know when you are at risk for heart disease, and they don't do it. They don't tell us, which is what pisses me off. When a dentist sees plaque in your mouth, he should tell you to go to a cardiologist. That plaque is directly related to high blood pressure and plaque in the heart. And you should go see a cardiologist to see if you need to be put on anything to help with that or adjust your diet, those types of things. But our dentists don't do that. And that's what makes me angry. Biological dentists are much better at that type of thing and will understand my products. But if you're going to a normal, when I say normal, just, a dentist that is traditionally, just works in the traditional dentistry field, they're not going to get it. They totally don't understand that you can actually reverse a cavity or heal a cavity.
Yeah.
And reverse gum recession.
I've experienced what you've said, and I'm friends with my dentist, so we have these conversations. I still go to her because we respect each other, and she's always open to learning. And she's like, "Well, your teeth are getting better," so she's like, you can't argue with that. So it is always an interesting conversation.
I know people ask me should I go see, there's no biological dentist near me, an hour away. Should I go see them? My response to them is this. My dentist, I live in Ohio and my dentist is in Scottsdale, Arizona. So it's an excuse to go there twice a year or once a year, however often I go. And I like that. And she's really good, but that's the reason I go, is because she's really good. And yes, it's worth the travel to go to a biological or even a holistic dentist. They are going to do so much more. Their exam, you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, what was I paying for before? I was paying for torture of chipping plaque up. But I'm using this new dental products. I'm going to a holistic and I walk out of there feeling like I just got something, I'm better. I'm feeling better. So it is worth going to a holistic or a biological dentist, even if you have to travel a little bit.
I love hearing you say that. Okay. So Trina, we have to talk about red lights because your device that has red light and blue light. Yeah. I have your original one. I have the new one as well, but and your very original one as well. And I was sold on red light anyway, and knowing the stuff going on with my teeth, I was like, oh, well, this makes a lot of sense. I'm like, I'm sold. Yeah, red light on a device for my teeth and my gums, sign me up. So I love it. It's amazing. share with everyone why you would want to put a device in your mouth that has red light and blue light.
I know. I'm so proud. This is one of my favorite little things that I've created. I'm so proud of this. When you think about, I always like to say, like, think about when you get up in the morning and it's dark in the room, or, the minute you open up the shades or the curtains and you let the light in, some magic happens. And that's exactly what happens when you light up your mouth, when you put your mouth, like, think about your mouth. I always say it's like your armpit. Like, it's disgusting. It's always dark. It's always, hot and moist down there. Like, of course, bacteria is going to grow. I mean, it's the perfect breeding ground. But the minute you put light therapy inside your mouth, something changes, like the energy changes. And red light's really cool inside the mouth. So, yes, using red light on the skin has been used for years. It's been a treatment for wound therapy as well as, anti-aging devices. It increases blood flow, reduces inflammation, and then also stimulates collagen, which is extremely important if you're trying to look younger or heal a wound. So it does the same thing inside the mouth. It has to be set at the right wavelengths, which of course the mouthpiece is for the mouth, but you're going to stimulate collagen, and collagen's so important when you're talking about gum recession and healing inflamed tissue. Even if you're someone who says, I don't have that, I don't have a problem, I urge you to start thinking about it, because most people don't realize they have gum recession until they actually are well into gum recession. Like, it's not something that you're in tune to. So even if you don't have it, it's a good therapy, and you're way ahead of the ball game if you just start using red light inside your mouth. The blue light's really cool. I love blue light. Like, I love red light, but the blue light really makes me excited. And this is why, part of the reason, so light therapy penetrates. It's not just on the surface, which is why it's so successful. So when you think about your gum tissue, you've got gum pockets and you have gum tissue between your teeth. How much does it penetrate? I don't know. I can't tell you, but I can tell you that the people that use this have much quicker and better results with getting their gum tissue healthy faster, reducing the pocket size, and reducing the bleeding and the inflammation. The blue light, actually, there was a study in Harvard. I geek out on this one. I just think it's so cool. Oh, I love props. Let me get my little prop. This is so cool. So I have to show this guy. He's like really sad. It's actually a cancer cell, but I use it as my prop for like oral cavities and the bacteria that you hate. This is the bad guys. So Harvard did a study, and the bacteria that causes cavities or gum disease has this little thing in it. It's like a little heme or a little something in it that they noticed when it was exposed to blue light, it caused that piece to literally explode. And when that exploded, the bacteria was dead. Think about what that will do for your kids. I mean, my kids use these. We don't really say there's an age, we just say that as long as there's a parent monitoring, that they can, and they don't want to look directly, don't let them look directly at the light, put it in their mouth. And as long as they can use it and not bite down on it, just let it rest in their mouth, they're good. But just think about what that can do for people that have really bad bacteria in the pits or in the pockets of the gum tissue. And if this can penetrate in there and cause these guys to explode, whenever I use this is gross, but whenever I use this, I imagine these guys just exploding and all that gross stuff. Like, they're exploding. Like, I'm like, they're throwing a party. It's exploding. But that's amazing. And one of the reasons that blue light whitens the teeth, because we say that blue light can whiten the teeth at a very minimal amount, but it will still whiten the effects of the teeth, is because these guys are yellow. These guys aren't white. They're like yellow colored. So if you have these guys living in your mouth, you're going to get that yellow look on your teeth. But the minute you cause them to explode and die and then spit them out or swallow them, if you're doing a treatment, it's okay, they're dead. Then you're going to actually whiten your teeth just because you're getting rid of the bacteria. The gel that I created is in little tubes, and there's 2 treatments per tube, but it's peroxide free because peroxide actually damages the teeth. And here's a fact that most people don't know. And most, if you're over the age of, I would even say 40, there's a good chance that you might still have mercury fillings in your mouth. And if you do, you should never put peroxide inside your mouth, because peroxide will actually vaporize mercury. And then you breathe it and you inhale it and it becomes absorbed into your body, and it's extremely toxic. And we're not told that. And here we go. The number 1 ingredient in teeth whitenings, anything, toothpaste or solutions, gels, whatever, is peroxide. So it's peroxide free. It's not going to damage your teeth. It's not going to damage your enamel. It has the same type of ingredients that I mentioned with the dental products along the same lines. It's alkaline, has hydroxyapatite, plus it has the clay, two different clays in it. So it's going to help remineralize. The reason people's teeth get yellow or dingy looking is typically because as we get older, the enamel starts to wear thin. So the outer coating of your tooth starts to get thinner and thinner. And the outer coating, that enamel, is the whitest part of your tooth. As it gets thinner, you start to be able to see the dentin, which is the layer beneath your tooth or the enamel. And the thinner that this gets, the more opaque. Like if you look at your teeth and if you're older and you look at your teeth and your teeth kind of look dingy, look really close. Do they look opaque? Because a lot of times what you're actually seeing is that layer beneath. Your enamel is so thin and sensitive. If you have sensitive teeth, that's one of the key indicators that you've lost so much enamel, that you've either got a spot that you've lost it in or your whole tooth. And peroxide, actually, the way peroxide whitens your teeth is that it pulls the moisture. It actually dehydrates, pulls the liquid or the fluid out of the dentin layer and makes that look more opaque so that your teeth will look whiter. But in reality, what you're doing is damaging the infrastructure of your tooth. So you're actually weakening it. And then there's a possibility that you're going to end up with tooth cracks or a broken tooth. And in reality, what I've done is try to reverse the reason your teeth look white or look dingy by remineralizing your enamel, thickening that up, which is going to be a world of difference in your dental health. But that's how you're actually going to have long-lasting, whiter teeth and healthier teeth. So, and I'll give you a link for this as well, where people can actually save 60%. I like to give a good discount on this one, because this one, to me, it's a game changer. It is.
Yeah. Thank you, Trina. And thank you for, all the work you've done for your inventions. Like I said, I love your mouth guard. I use it. We use it in the family. It's great. I'm a big fan of light therapy. I know a lot about it and how powerful it is. And thank you for your explanations, because it really comes down to not stripping away our teeth, but remineralizing. We have to remineralize. It's so funny. Older I get, the more I keep learning. It's like so much has been coming up lately about minerals, just minerals for the body, the mineralization of our teeth. It is so important. I think kind of what you said towards the beginning, to just remind everybody, right? Our soil has become so depleted. So we have to really work to remineralize our body, because otherwise it's kind of getting stripped away from us. So
yeah. And your body is so amazing. It wants to be healthy. It wants to be neutral or normal. And it doesn't take time. It doesn't take that much time if you provide the right ingredients, the right substance for your body. So I love that. And thank you. Thank you for letting me share this. I love sharing my story. And I just love the changes that can come about very quickly for anybody and for families. When you're not worried about watching, because I know one of the hardest things I did as a parent is watching my kids brush their teeth. It was so hard. Like, you've got 300 things going on at the time they're trying to brush their teeth. And so you can't really monitor that. And so I always felt really good that I don't care if they swallow it. And seriously, you don't even really have to brush. All you have to do is get the powder inside your mouth, and it's going to work its magic. And so it always made me feel really good as a mom that if I didn't have my eyes on them, at least I knew that they were still doing okay. And
Yeah.
it's worked because they don't have any cavities. So I'm good.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Trina, thank you so much. Will you share with everyone where they can, reach out to you, learn more about everything that you and you're doing with your company?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm on YouTube. It's actually my name, I think, on YouTube, Trina Felber,
Okay.
and tons of videos. I've been doing videos before videos were popular. So tons of educational videos. The company is primallifeorganics.com. Of course, we're on Instagram, Primal Life Org. Twitter is the same. TikTok, if you're into TikTok, is the same. And then Facebook is Primal Life Organics. But and we're also on Pinterest, I think, as well. So all over the place. I have blogs. I have lots of really great information. If you want more information on the red light, if you just go to the blog, we've got a bunch of blog articles, a new recent one that came out about the red light therapy and how amazing it is. So if you got more questions, you can even reach out to my team. We call ourselves the happiness team. So my customer happiness team is support at primallifeorganics.com. We're happy to help you figure out what's right for you.
Well, awesome. And I will for sure link everything up below and link information to some of the stuff we talked about today. And as everyone listening knows, when I use products that I love, I want to help share them with others because otherwise we don't know, right? So I think spreading the word is the best way to help just everyone to become healthier. So Trina, thank you again so much.
Thank you.